You're gonna make it a thumbnail. How much space do I have to work with here? Wait. Do I have anything good? Do I have anything good right off the bat? Okay, no, I don't. Okay. So I just gotta wing it. Okay. Is this the right? No. It's gotta be this way.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Break Time for the Mobile Legends Scrim Academy, where we take a step back and meet members in our local and international community. Today, we have a special guest who you guys have seen all the way in MPL Malaysia. Has been all across the globe, dominating in the caster realm. I can't wait for you guys to see who we're talking about. That's right, we have the #1 star, Gideon, is in the building. And here we are. Gideon, how are you doing?
Doing great. Happy to be here. Finally got to sit down and do this interview that has been very long overdue.
Yeah, it's definitely been very long overdue. I mean, you've been a busy man, right? You've been rotating around. You've been getting a lot of these castings in. Definitely an idol that I've looked up to myself since I've got into the casting realm. So definitely glad that you took the time out of your schedule today to be able to sit down and chill with us on the Mobile Legends Scrim Academy for break time. And to get things started, let's just wind it back a little bit. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your background? Where did you grow up at, and where are you currently living?
Currently I'm living in Malaysia, but before that, I was born here in Malaysia, and then my parents had to go do missionary work, so I ended up growing up in Bangladesh for 7 years before coming back to Malaysia after that time. So yeah, I would say that things have been going pretty well here in Malaysia after quite some time, after a lot of culture shocks and changes in my lifestyle.
So I know Malaysia's a lot different than where I live at in North America. How is the
Mhm.
weather out there?
Hot. It's either hot, humid, or hazy. One or the three. We only have two types of weathers, but we have four different seasons. Seasons being it's either monsoon season, it's either summertime, it's either hazy, or there's dengue season. It's one of these four. It never changes.
Well, a little bit about Malaysia. Like, what is your favorite food out there? Because I know it's definitely probably different than what we have over here.
Uh, oh, that's a tough choice to make. That's a really tough choice to make. I personally really like having like simple Asian meals, usually two component meals. Chicken rice is pretty good.
Mm.
Fried kway teow. Those are my usual go-tos. Dim sum is always a good favorite of mine whenever you're in the mood for something a little bit smaller, but you want variety. That's always good fun.
Okay, I might have to try some of that out. I need to fly out to Malaysia. I want to explore. So maybe we could fly you out here to North America. I mean, we met Nisu, so only a matter of time for you come down here. Dave, where you at? Might as well manifest this into reality. I mean, you've traveled a lot. Are you ready for a trip to North America?
Honestly, I don't know. I've never been on a flight that's probably gonna take me a day, more than a day to get to. I think the longest flight I've had is to China, and even then that was like 12-ish to like 14 hours. It's nothing like 26 hours or something like that. Nothing crazy.
Yeah, it's definitely a trip. I mean, when I was in the military, I lived in Egypt, and that was about like a 30-hour flight to get from North America to there. So I'd definitely be prepared to sleep majority of the time you're over there flying. Now, Gideon, I got to ask you, you've casted a lot of games for Mobile Legends Bang Bang, but how did you get into Mobile Legends Bang Bang? How did it even come across to you to play and then to cast as well?
Well, I think for a lot of people who've been doing this a while, like Mobile Legends wasn't around when I first started casting. So initially, mobile gaming was starting to become a thing here in Malaysia because everybody had a smartphone, right? But prior to that, everybody was trying to get into like one of the two big esports leagues in the world, right? Whether it be an FPS or a MOBA, it's kind of up to you which part you start from. I started from a very classic MOBA, and then eventually went into training for. Well, I wouldn't even say training. I don't think it's fair to say training. I auditioned for it, right? You know how people position it like, oh yeah, it's a workshop, it's a caster workshop, but really it's just like a blind audition.
Oh,
That's
okay.
essentially, yeah, that's essentially what happened, right? So I go into this blind audition, and I think it was under, It was under Garena, right? I think most people would have heard about Garena. They have Free Fire as a game. They have done like Contra, and they used to like run League of Legends for to a certain degree, especially in Southeast Asia. They had like a they were the distributors, so they also had control over the esports. So they were doing their own little thing to start the professional league amongst Southeast Asia, and the big tournament was called the GPL, right? So
Okay.
went into it, tried it out, and basically what I passed the blind audition. So we go into the workshop, and the funny thing about it is that they were running out of casters. So they decided to pair the newer casters up with some of the older casters like 2 weeks into this workshop. So we're still fresh, and the next thing you knew, they're like, okay, here's an official broadcast. Go swim.
Oh wow.
Which was we were supposed to hop onto a broadcast 8 weeks into the caster class, but he ended up 2 weeks in. We got thrown into the deep end. We did a cast. We were awful at it, and that's how my journey started.
That's amazing. I mean, sometimes that's the best way to learn, right? Throw you in with the wolves and see if you can survive. And you definitely survived. I can't say that about everybody else that probably jumped in there, but it definitely worked out for you. I mean, like I said, I've been watching a lot of you casters for a while. Like when I first got into MLBB, you were one of the first people I seen casting. You definitely have a very unique presence when it comes to energy and being, being able to keep that vibe going on those long shows. And it's definitely not the easiest thing to do. Trust me, I'm a guy that tries to bring a lot of energy too. Now, I got to ask you, what motivates you as a caster? Like, what keeps you motivated to continue and push through?
Ooh, that's a hard one. I think I think currently I'm in an interesting predicament, right? Like you're not when once you've casted for this long, a lot of things you can do on autopilot. Like if somebody gave me a tournament and I wasn't prepared for it, right? A bunch of teams, I probably could make it work, right? I think for most experienced casters, it shouldn't take too much effort to get it done, especially if you're already invested in the game and you've already been doing the game for a while. Then it shouldn't be, and especially if you've been keeping up with it, it's not a problem. I think for me, what keeps me motivated is going to these internationals at this point, right? Yeah, I think it's not about like dominating the local scene because here in Southeast Asia, the English broadcast usually gets shafted for the local language. Of course, because Southeast Asia is so diverse and different, it's very understandable. You know, the local language is going to be by far the most important, and English is like a side thing. So it depends how like integrated your culture is with English to really start to rise up amongst the local scene. So MPL MY, MPL Indonesia, Philippines, so on and so forth. English is the secondary language, but when you're in an international, it becomes the main language, and that's when it
Okay.
becomes really interesting because then you're paired up with people who have been doing this for quite a while. They bring their own different style to things, and you're trying to like make this like art form work that everybody has come to like a basic understanding of. And I think that to me is like the most invigorating moment where you're not paired up when you're not paired up with like people who are not taking it as seriously anymore,
Right.
and you go to an international where everybody takes it seriously, like this is their bloodline, so there's a level of expectation that has already been set, but more importantly, I think there's this level of polish that you can't really get anywhere else. So that's why I really like going to internationals and why I'm highly motivated to go to them, because I feel like when you put two artists in a room, eventually you're gonna get something good. It
I
may
like
take
that.
a while, but eventually you're gonna come to a point where both of you are extremely like aware, happy with the way that each other performs, and then there's this nice little synergy that comes on through to make a good show. So that's what's really keeping me alive right now, knowing that like, oh, when I go back to an international, it's all about polish, it's all about, the repetitions that I did beforehand and the
Right.
preparation to make sure that this upcoming tournament is going to be the best it's going to be.
So, how many years have you been casting now?
Uh, I'm sorry, I'm a child. I'm counting on my fingers. Give me a second. Uh, I think I have been casting for at least 9-ish, if not 8.5 years at this point.
Ooh, dang. That's almost, you
Yeah.
said almost 8, 9 years?
Yes. Yes.
Wow.
I started very early. I started when I was like a child. I was still in university when all of this was happening.
Oh wow, that's very impressive, man. I didn't. I would have. That's insane. Like that's almost 10 years. It's like halfway to retirement right there on casting. That's amazing.
Basically, yeah.
So, why don't you tell us about your first experience being picked up for MPLMY? How was that?
Um, I thought it was kind of strange, right? Because so I had a partner beforehand, right? And we did League of Legend PC together. And eventually, like through his contact, he told me about potentially doing Mobile Legends, and I was like, I don't know, like I play Mobile Legends like season one. A couple of things have changed since then. It's season two of their professional scene. I don't really know what's going on, and he's like, might as well throw yourself in there, right? Because what League of Legends is essentially a dead game in Southeast Asia because we're part of the minor regions, and it will never see the light of day. So if you're hoping to start casting for Worlds, well, let's be realistic about it. They're probably going to get a Filipino or Singaporean to do it at this point. And I was like, he's got a point. He's not wrong. And like every international tournament, every like local international tournament was dominated by either Filipino or Singaporean. So I couldn't really justify any way not to go into it. I had zero expectations, and I think then it's like the Wild West of freelancing. I would say, there's no real rules or regulations. You kind of like, if you know a person who knows a person, you're most likely going to get picked up for the job because nobody knows anybody in the industry at this point. So that's the thing. Everybody knows a different game. Like, oh, I've heard about you from League of Legends, and I'm like, okay, yeah, cool. But what's this Mobile Legends all about? It's like, we'll throw you in and let's see how good of a job you can do. So did some preparation, went to my very first cast for Mobile Legends, and I realized, like, man, this game is really fast. Like, it's so quick. It's really hard to do color. And I think that was like my biggest hurdle for the longest time, trying to like really condense my sentences because action happens so quick in like in a mobile form. So they've taken the entire mobile genre and like boiled it down into like 20-ish minutes. And I was like, okay, sure, yeah, it's a side hustle. And I really appreciate having Mobile Legends as like a side hustle initially, but I didn't expect it to kind of like turn into my main thing after a long period of time. I think that's where I got lucky.
Now, I gotta say, like, it worked out really well for you, right? You literally fit in like a perfect match, perfect fit for a glove out there in Malaysia. Not only Malaysia, but like, how was your experience when you got picked up for your first M Series event?
Oh, Uh, that one was sheer luck as well. Okay. I don't know how much I could talk about this. It's been long enough, right? It's been long enough. I don't think it matters anymore. All right. You cannot fault. I don't think anybody can fault Moonton for this, right? Because bear in mind, it's not their fault. I don't think it's their fault. I think it's a bit of an oversight, and at the time everybody is experimenting, right? There is no like box. Like there's a mold that people have this a rough idea of how a pro scene and a professional league should be handled, or how an international tournament should be handled, because we had a couple of examples, big tournaments out there. CSGO had like what, Boom in Rio a couple of times. Sorry, not in Rio, South America. And then they've also had like Dota TIs. We had League of Legends Worlds. Even Fortnite was having like a world tournament at that point. So you had like Halo as well, and was having a world tournament. So like everybody was having a quote unquote world tournament. So there's no real correct way of doing it. Keep that in mind. So when I was selected for the M series, I had earlier in the year, one of the biggest goals for me and my partner was to make it for one of the only international tournaments for MLBB at the time, which was MSC 2019, that happened in the Philippines. It was the second time it happened, right? So we did that event. And then my partner Matthew was like, "Hey, I got some insider information that maybe a World Series is happening in Malaysia, and also I'm retiring." And I'm like, "What? You're gonna retire just before like in telling me that information?" And he's like, No. Like I was already planning on retiring after MSC. It's just that this is happening. So if you want to keep doing casting, like this is another thing you should set your eyes upon." And I was like, "Okay, thanks for the heads up." So I get selected for the M series because there was a problem with YouTube and Facebook because they hated their guts. They didn't like each other. So a lot of the original talent that was supposed to be on the desk was associated with Facebook at the time because
Oh,
Facebook
really?
had recently started picking up KOLs and streamers all across Southeast Asia, specifically because a large majority of Asians in Southeast Asia were still using Facebook. YouTube got the rights to stream the M series, M1 to be specific. And then that's where it got really awkward. A lot of talents got cut, and because I was so small and I wasn't associated with Facebook or YouTube, not getting either one of their sweet, sweet streamer paying tax-paying dollars, I ended up being lucky enough to cast the M series without a hitch.
Dude, that is literally insane. And honestly, like I'm a firm believer of everything happens for a reason. I mean, like you've impacted many of casters that have wanted to aspire to do great, players that have wanted to play the game just from listening to the way you break down the picture. And for those who don't know, Gideon has also jumped in on the MLSA time and time again just after the show to be like, hey, I caught the game, I got some pointers, and it's definitely helped out. Thank you for that, by the way. Everybody appreciates that. We love when you stop by. I've definitely always taken notes, man. You gotta give homage where it's due, right? He's been doing this for 9 years now. This is crazy. This is honestly like sounds like a dream come true, and I'm glad it really worked out for you. Now, I gotta ask you, for those who are new aspiring casters, what is the biggest advice you could give to them for starting fresh on their journey?
Uh, uh, don't start, I guess. I mean, there's there's a certain level of it depends on where you like want to go, right? I think most people need to be realistic when they get into casting. Like as fun as it is and as fun of a job as it potentially could be for you, or the benefits that you could reap the reward of later down in life, it doesn't change the fact that it's not an easy job. I think like take this interview for an example. Like how long did it took us forever for me to finally make the time to get to you because I'm casting full time. I don't have a day's worth of break. Like if I could fill my break time up with another cast, I would, because it's esports, and esports isn't exactly the biggest paying thing in the world. I think people need to recognize that like esports is still a growing thing among Southeast Asia, and even more so for NA, especially for mobile gaming. In that particular sense, right? Yes, we are a little bit ahead of the curve, but it doesn't change the fact that it's like not everybody believes in esports, so therefore the funding isn't necessarily going to be there. So if you're hoping to be like, I'm gonna drop out of school, I'm gonna like drop my
Right.
full-time job, I'm gonna like do all these things and focus all my time into casting, I'm like, well, take a step back, take a step back. You have zero connections, you have no idea what you're doing, you can't like sell yourself right now because you have got no reps in, so how exactly are you going to do it, right? So be real. I think people need to be realistic with it. Be realistic with the goals that you set when you are casting. If you're doing Mobile Legends specifically, like start with smaller tournaments, hit up the MLSA, start going and talking to your favorite casters on their streams, follow their social medias, get in contact with them, because they're more, and especially for like for us in Southeast Asia, it's a little bit awkward because it's like you don't know who to really trust, and everybody's like kind of creepy sometimes. I've gotten a lot of DMs where it's just like, I want to be a caster, and it's like, how serious are you? Like
Oh man, I can only imagine.
exactly. It's like I don't think you realize how much work and time that this is going to take compared to like if the NA community, a very tightly knit community where everybody knows each other, if somebody has met somebody and he has a great voice and somebody else can vouch for that person, then at least you have some kind of like small term of verification. All we have is TikToks, and TikToks only tell you so much. Okay, we've done a duet video where we get people to be like, oh, they have to start casting with me and Eterna, and it's like it's weird sometimes. I feel very uncomfortable doing with it because like shooting it, I had to do a lot of just like pause, look at the camera, nod your head, right? But the TikTok itself is interesting. So please, if people want to like try out, go search up the MPLMY TikTok caster search English version. Like go for it. That's a good way to start. There's so many different ways, right? But the most important thing is understanding that shoutcasting is finite. It is a finite skill. You're only as good as your voice, and if your voice is undeveloped, therefore you're not exactly going to like get too much done. But if you do have a voice, also know that a shoutcasting career is most likely going to last up till it's not like a doctor job, right? You're not going to be doing it forever. You know that it's finite. Know when to kind of like exit the game. Know when to not sacrifice anything important in your life for it, because this is more of a side thing before it becomes your main thing.
And that's just what I call 10 years, almost 10 years of experience right there. You definitely listen exactly to what Gideon is saying. I think he's right on the mark. I can already relate to a lot of that you said. Like, you got to have a plan, know what to get into, know what not to get into. You know, you mentioned the TikTok, you mentioned NPL MY season 12, right? Right around the corner.
Hmm.
Doing auditions over there. So, guys, if you guys do want to audition over there for NPL MY, make sure you guys do your duet video on TikTok to be able to get a chance to cast alongside Gideon and get some amazing advice. I mean, that's like 9 years of experience, man. That's an amazing mentor to be able to get that from. Now, Gideon, I got to ask you, right? You know, I'm from North America. You're from Malaysia. How do you feel about North America so far as a region? How do you feel like, do you feel like we're improving? I know, were you able to catch the NACT recent one that we had?
Yes, I've been trying to keep up with as much as possible, but it's a
Hmm.
little tough. Recent NACT, I think I was only able to catch like a game before I had to like go off and do something else.
Hmm.
Time zone difference as well. Like, oh, if you guys are in the morning, it is night for me on the following day, and if it is morning for you guys, it's night for me on the following day. So it's like
Right.
it's really early for you guys to have your NACT. That's all I'm just gonna say, right? If I'm lucky to like tune in, that's because for some reason I'm awake or I'm just rewatching the stream. I think North America is still growing. I definitely think that you guys are moving towards the right direction, but I think the hardest part is the lack of LAN experience, right? I feel that like amongst your local community, people need to take initiative, right? People need to take initiative with who they want to start playing their rank with, how they want to start. You can meet over Discord, but it's still a community at the end of the day, right? You need to be able to be invested as much as people like to be social justice warriors. Get into the ring once in a while, you know? Go into these discords that hold tournaments, or better yet, hold just casual fun tournaments, and see honestly what it's like to be in the position of a player. And I think the community in that sense kind of grows, right? From there, you have like a power ranking, and from power ranking, you can understand who's good and who's not, so that NA teams can pick you up if you ever want to consider going into this professionally. So I think that the community is growing. I think the professional scene is in a good spot right now, but it's hard to find like fresh new talent. And it's difficult to believe that there is going to be a scene. So if you can express your joy of playing MLBB to everybody else, please do so, because who knows, somebody else might be playing MLBB secretly, and then the next thing they realize is like, oh, there's actually a gigantic community in North America that's continuing to grow. And I think, you know, that kind of saves the time and effort to say, hi, my name is Gideon, and saves all the introductions. You just play the game, you know, it's simple as that.
You know, it's actually hilarious that you mentioned like NACT is super early for you, dude. That's exactly how we feel in North America for all of your guys' international events. Like they'll go on like 4 in the morning
7
and
in the
last for
morning,
like,
yeah.
yeah. And I'm like, bro, like I can't catch this. And then it'll be like an hour-long wait time until like the next match. And I'm like, oh man, I gotta go to bed. That's funny to hear it from the other side of the world and see that you guys deal with that same experience when it comes to the NACT. Man, that's
Mhm.
just definitely one of the funniest things. Now, I gotta ask you, for yourself, is there any goals that you're shooting for this year?
Goals for myself. The goals that I'm trying to achieve is to monetize my YouTube channel. That's what I'm, very keen on getting done. I finally hit the subscriber count, so all I need is to catch up on the watch time, and that'd be really, really great. Puts me in a much better position for the upcoming year. M series, I guess, but I feel like even then, like going to an M series is less of my concern. Doing a good job in M series is my main concern, and I think that's what I plan on doing. I've been working with a lot of the international talents a lot this year. After MSC, we had Snapdragon series, and Snapdragon series has kindly flown them over here to Malaysia for this week, just to like have the casts done by the studio at ESL, and then we're going to meet up again in Jakarta for the
Oh
LAN
man.
finals. So we're the international talent is on our international tour, right? MSC technically has not ended for us.
Well, I know you kind of mentioned your YouTube, so I think this is a great chance for you to go ahead and let us know, where can we find you on YouTube? What is your hashtag handle?
My hashtag handles is simply Gideon at Gideon Q. You can find me on pretty much all social medias, whether it be all the way from Twitter, all the way to Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. It's going to be Gideon Q. Otherwise, it can be Fatal Five Way. It's an old IGN. Don't worry about it. Don't ask me questions about it. That's just sometimes how it happens, you know.
I'm glad you mentioned that. I'm definitely going to be following you on all that. And everybody watching, the social media for Gideon, all those amazing platforms will be down in the description of today's video as well. But Gideon, before you go, I know it's been about 25 minutes sitting strong, right? I got a surprise for you, man. Honestly, are you ready for it?
Okay, sure.
I love doing this, a special segment where we kind of get a reaction on something. So you recently, like you mentioned, MPL NY season 12 right around the corner. You're auditioning, right? So we actually had somebody from the MLSA send in an audition. You want to go ahead and take a look? You want to check it out?
Okay, sure. I'm down for it. I feel like I've seen this already, but no worries.
Okay, let's go ahead and swing right over
For
to
the
it.
MPL MY Season 12, all you gotta do, duet this video.
Are you guys ready? Because I'll be the blue and you'll be the red. Let's get it.
My name is Gideon.
I'm Eterna.
And my friends, I'm scared yet.
Alright, let's get into the game.
HP on the low, extremely low. Sasa in the meantime takes Barbosa down. Separ has also used the split to zone them away. But look at the base. It's actually being taken down by Smooth. He goes in towards the crystal. Quite a lot of minions need to be taken care of. Smooth wants to do it. One more hit, but the minions have fallen. Walnut clears it out perfectly. And now Smooth has to run away for his own life.
You're the chosen one.
So don't forget to use the hashtag SuaraMPLMYS12 and of course
Hi, hello.
Hi Gideon, thank you Steph for giving me this chance. And Gideon, yes, it's just as Steph said, I am your idol, you're my role model and I've been following you for so very long. It's basically an honor to meet you right now and I'm so very happy.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Scary Head. I wasn't expecting this. This is weird. Oh no! It's too early for this. It's too.
I had a couple of questions. Just I want to let you know about one thing. Gideon, you know that there's a guy on Instagram who always texts you with the username the Psychopath Freak and asks you some questions, and that's me.
Oh, okay. That explains so much. Okay. All right. Correct. Right.
Okay.
That makes a lot more. Makes a lot more sense now. All right, fair. That's good to know. Thank you.
I'm sorry if I annoy you a lot, but it's just that I want to know a lot of things. A few questions, Gideon, that I wanted to ask you. So first of all, after you watched my TikTok clip, so what are your opinions about my casting?
What are my opinions? All right. So when I evaluate a cast, it usually comes to whether it's play by play or color or whether you're kind of bringing something new to the game, right? I think that because it's an audition, it's a little unfair for me to be like really hypercritical about every single thing you do in the cast itself. So I try not to be and start looking, and ideally I'm trying to figure out what's your angle, what's your persona, what's the angle, what's the uniqueness that you bring yourself to the desk. And I think in that one, okay, the play-by-play, it seems simple enough, right? I feel like everybody can do a play-by-play in their own right, but so far what I don't notice is that like I'm looking for a way to kind of spice things up for the play-by-play, or if so, whether you're able to do something that is somewhat entertaining, somewhat going off the script to a certain amount, right? I want to see a lot of personality. I want to see whether you can, when times get serious, you can get serious. Times when there is not so serious, you're able to kind of like add in your own flavor to it. And yeah, those are the two main things. Another thing that it's gonna sound so bad. It's gonna sound awful. It's gonna sound so awful, right? And I cannot help it, but the accent is thick, right? And I think that's something that you know for certain, and then there's something that is going to, I'm going to tell you now, it's going to hinder you, right? And it's not because it is not your fault at all, right? I used to have an accent, a lot of casters used to have accents, and then we slowly came to this neutral tone. The good thing about neutral tones is the fact that everybody can listen to it, and people don't, in Malaysia, we have this word, I don't know how to explain it. we call it gelat, which means that you've had too much of something, right? You get easily saturated with it, like a sponge with water. Eventually, it starts seeping out, and then you're like, it's too much for me, right? So you need that. You need to have a more neutral tone, and it's not because it's like, oh, because the MPL is racist and like we don't like accents at all. That's not true. It is just a showbiz thing whereby a lot of producers are old and they're gonna be like, yeah, I'm not okay with that. And it's like, please just look past it just for a moment to give an opportunity. And I think, that's, don't take it the wrong way, but in this particular industry, people are gonna nitpick for the dumbest of things. And if they're gonna nitpick on you for the accent, just be ready to kind of like take that once you start breaking out. Keep on supporting Mobile Legends Scrim Academy. It's a really great initiative done by very talented individuals. You guys are very lucky to have like a very community driven, something that you guys can keep sacred to North America, even though once in a while some Southeast Asians, unhappy Southeast Asians, come and ruin the experience. That's why that you guys need to be able to kind of keep it in check, police it to make sure that NA is great and continues to be growing and continuing to be great with these smaller tournaments. And eventually, with enough tournaments and enough reps, you guys could maybe look to go for a world championship. So I'm excited until that happens.
Fast forward time skip. We had a little bit of audio issues toward the final ending. So, guys, just a special shout out to Gideon coming all the way out from Malaysia and supporting our region, supporting us on the MLSA. It definitely takes a lot of work behind the scenes to make this possible, and it's amazing for somebody who's so well known in the Mobile Legends Bang Bang community to stop by to show support for our community in North America. So, Gideon, again, thank you so much for interviewing with the MLSA. If there's anybody that you guys would like us to interview next, definitely drop a comment below on who you would like to see, and we'll try and get them in there. But as always, it's been a pleasure. This is Break Time. Weezy and Gideon signing out. Oh, one more thing. The beginning, I know it was pretty funny. He was trying to make it the most awkward thumbnail ever, and I think he may have done that. Shout out to Gideon. Peace!